Innovation is within us, and there is no better time than now for creatives to solve the unique African problems and to build the tech giant we need. Introducing AO Group Executive for Business Development, Xolo Motswasele, to give us the final Kairos moment for SACE 2020. It's Africa's time to champion its own digital ecosystem.
My name is Xolo Motswasele. I'm a Group Executive at IO Technologies. I'd like to welcome you all to the Innovation Summit 2020. IO Technologies is excited to participate in this year's summit. What the summit seeks to achieve is aligned to IO's vision of being the leading African-based technology group, which drives smart living, playing, and working throughout the continent and beyond. We believe that the time is ripe for innovation. The 21st century so far has proven to be the period in history characterized by the highest rate of change, opportunity, and disruption. We need to even brace ourselves as it is going to get faster. The next decade will see more change than the last 50 years. 9 out of 10 companies who were top of their game, talk about the top of Fortune 500 50 years ago, no longer exist. The big companies of today, like Facebook, Apple, and Amazon, only started 20, 30 years ago. And the companies that will lead in 2050 are probably just starting now. So what a time to be alive. And if you are a creator, there has never been a better time. If you remember, in 2010, smartphones were at infancy. The artificial intelligence and self-driving cars were fantasies. In 2020, machines can really converse with people using voice. At your command, it can compose messages, make calendar reminders, all those things that we now take for granted. Or scan the internet for answers to questions, sometimes with a dose of humor. You know how Siri can be funny sometimes. And what about the instant translation of spoken words into 27 different languages? No, the potential for gene editing is a reality. A genetically modified human embryos were created by a Chinese scientist in 2018. Now, let's talk about innovation. Innovation has no nationality. Technology knows no borders. Innovation does not discriminate based on background. World-changing innovation can come from anywhere in the world. It could come from a village in Ofimbaba in South Africa, as much as in Silicon Valley. The case in point, the biggest e-commerce company, Alibaba, comes from China. Infosys comes from India. The question then is it Africa's turn? Africa has 1.3 billion population. A number of inventors in science and engineering originate from Africa. So what is the problem? Skills gap is the problem, but it is not the only main contributor. There's a need for collaboration. There's a need for capital and a clear strategy to make this work. Now, let's look at the possible areas of innovation. Subsistence farming, especially when it's commercial. Many use it to feed themselves and make a living, such as educating their kids. Taking their kids to school through the money that they make after they've eaten. The farmers are impacted by livestock theft and diseases. There's a need for innovation in these areas, apps to assist the farmers. I know that the more the artificial intelligence is applied, the better and effective solutions will come. Look at the example of ICAO in Kenya. Primary care health systems and mobile clinics, those would make a huge difference in Africa, and as well as the large scale of solar system. We are not short of problems, and we are not short of innovators. What we are short of are systems to encourage innovation in Africa. With the right support, you can solve Africa problems, and we are here to support you. Taking a deeper look into Africa, We all know what is facing Africa: poverty, diseases, illiteracy, inequality, and other social ills. More than 600 million people in Africa do not have electricity. Hey, what about the 400 million who live below the poverty line? There is a vast majority in rural areas who do not have access to basic services. As we think about the fourth industrial revolution, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, and virtual reality, we should be asking, how do they solve the ills of Africa? What apps will be used by farmers? What else will be created to allow access for rural areas? Apps that will better the lives of our people. How will AI, AR, VR be used to schools, useful for schools in the rural areas? Obviously, we do not want to forget our big cities: Johannesburg, Cape Town, Nairobi, Lagos, Cairo, Harare, Maputo, and others. The question is, how do we address the problem of logistics, sustainability, housing, clean air in those big cities? What about transport, education, and leisure, for example? Now, let's take a look at some of the enabling technologies that we can start tapping on. The solar system is becoming cheaper and accessible. Storage and computational power is cheaper. We need entrepreneurs to make sure easy accessibility and reliable, make it reliable for everyone. Bandwidth is getting more and more cheaper and accessible. Software development tools are easier and cheaper to access. How do we enable school children, the students, to utilize these to innovate while they are still young, coming up with the culture of innovation? We haven't even touched gaming as a part of entertainment. The opportunities that are there is a need for Africa, to come up with the next best tech giant. We need to have the next African tech giant coming out of our continent to solve our problems. But I would like to encourage you to connect the dots. Almost all innovation happens by making connections between the fields that other people don't realize, like a Japanese origami and the car manufacturing. They came up with ABEX out of that collaboration. Another example, looking now in futuristic, things like winemaking, technology in winemaking. We need to find those connections, find these new solutions, and your idea will stick. Now, what makes innovation stick? I'm not saying it is going to be easy, it won't. People will criticize you. They will reject your solution. Boardrooms are full of people who build their careers challenging ideas and showing what's wrong. This is according to Bill Hayden, a CSO at Universal Records. There are many ideas, but there are few who succeed. The success factor is not only in determining the idea, but the focus on the implementation and what the idea is solving. Therefore, do not pitch the idea, but the minimum viable products, the data that tells you what is happening. And don't let it discourage you. In times of change, most people will unfortunately miss out because they are trained to repeat what has worked before, particularly in Africa. Banks and investors are trained to look at the history, not at the potential. But don't worry, it's their loss, not yours. Most successful companies today were overlooked 20 years ago by the market leaders. Netflix was rejected by Blockbuster, Lamborghini by Ferrari, talk about Apple, Google, Disney. But if you have a good solution to a real problem, keep working at it, be persistent, believe in yourself, and it will catch on. The next big thing should come out of Africa. It is Africa's turn. I thank you.